Good morning, sexy people. How are you? Happy Monday to everybody. I know some of you guys are already up on the East Coast, not up on the West Coast. Those of us in the middle are just, hey there, Mr. Goodbar, are, have been up for a while because, you know, well, I've been up since early, put it that way. Hey, Mike. Mike, see you soon. Pick me up at the airport next week. And I'm going to call you later, Mike. I was thinking about you this morning while I was in the shower. So how is everyone? I hope you are well. It's been a while since I've gone on this early. It is a beautiful day here in Cancun. I am living here in Cancun now, but I have the shades down, and I'm in my kitchen because the sun. I get the early morning sun. It comes up over the trees, and it's just like it is just too much. But I am on this morning because I wanted to chat with y'all, and my girlfriend Parish is coming any minute now. But I wanted to chat with you all about what do you do if your partner's desires are different than yours? And let's say we'll start with sex, right? Because we like to talk about sex. So what do you do if your partner's desires are different than yours? It could be different in a sexual desires or libido. They could be different in a higher way. It could be different in a lower way. But good morning, Courtney. But it's hi all, good morning. But what do you do when your partner's desires, former partner, current partner, are different? We change as we grow, as we get older, as we have babies, as our jobs changes, as our stress levels adjust. But what do you do when your partner's desires are different than yours? And you've expressed that difference to your partner, and you're like, hey, we're not on the same page. We're misaligned. I want less. You want more. You want more. Or you want less and I want more. Do you just let it be? And especially if this desire is something really important to you, right? And I think for most relationships, not all, right? But for most relationships, sex isn't a very important part of that relationship. And I have met people that I have coached with, and they didn't really have this conversation. And I think you guys have heard me say, when was the last time you've asked your partner what type of sex they enjoy? And that's a question that should be asked on a regular basis. Like, I know we've been together for a minute, a month, 2 years, 10 years. Some people, 25 years, have never asked their partner what type of sex they enjoy. But if your partner has decided, for whatever reason, that they are no longer really that interested in sex at all with you, do you just be like, oh, well, I guess we're not having sex no more? Do you think the person has should maybe try to get into counseling? Do you think they should, try to have more conversation with their partner and be like, listen, we need to have a discussion because I'm not getting my needs met, and these needs are important to me. Oopsie. And hey, Michael, if you're still there, would you tap Parish on official Sexy Spirit TV and tell her come on? I know she's around here somewhere, but oopsie, there it is. Oh, there she is. Where you at, girl? Yes, we can eat there, Michael. Parish, I just saw you. Where'd you go? Oh my God. Hold on, guys. I'm trying to get Parish on here with me. Even maybe bringing in suggestions to support their liking. True, true. And that is definitely, Parish, can you send a request or do I have to send it to you? Oh, wait, hold on. Go live with official sexy spirit. All right. There it is. Thoughts too about this. I think I did it right. I think I did it right. Michael, you said we can meet at the same fine restaurant, order only what we eat, and still enjoy a fine meal. What do you mean by that, Michael? Are you talking about me and you personally when I come to Boston, or are you talking about the subject that I am talking about? You know, so I asked this question. Parish, you're not coming up. For some reason. I asked this question because in the most recent months, I've had conversations with couples where one party of the couple has decided that, oh, hey, Chica.
Hi, I'm sorry, my phone is being wonky. I don't know why it's not letting me in.
You got it. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for inviting me to Sisters of Sexuality. So happy to be here.
Oh, girl, please. You are a sister of sexuality, and you're always welcome here. This is your home, and you know that. So I was just asking the question. Well, you heard the question, right?
No, I was struggling with it.
Okay. I was asking the question, what do you do when your partner's desires are different than yours? And I decided to start with the sex because we got to talk about sex. So what if your partner's desire for sex is higher than yours or lower than yours? And this is something that's really important to you, but you're not getting your needs met, So whether it's lower and you're not getting your needs met, or you're feeling pressured, or it's higher and you're not getting your needs met. And I started to talk about one of the couples that I had met with, and it just so happens in this particular instance, it was the wife who had decided that, shortly after they had their child, that she was not really that interested in sex any longer. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, so what did you all do about that? And I was like, well, wait, you mean from when you first had the child or now? And it was from when they first had the child, and that was 19 years ago.
Ooh, child.
So I know, so I says, well, to the husband, so what are you doing about sex? I mean, because he had said to me in the session that it was really important to him at one time. And I'm like, okay, and then what happened? And he was like, well, nothing. I said, well, did you go to, therapy, like a sex therapist? I'm not a therapist, but did you go to a sex therapist? Or he said, no, she refused to go. I'm like, so what? Are you not supposed to have sex for the rest of your life because she's not having sex and because she no longer desires sex? He was like, yeah, I guess so. I'm like, but that doesn't make sense to me. I mean, go ahead.
Do you see, just asking you, sis, because I don't know if I've ever asked you, do you see withholding of sex as or neglect of the sexual intimacy as a form of abuse?
If it is held for that reason, meaning that, let's say your partner has an illness and is incapable, and they're like, it's too, or they're saying, I can't have sex right now because I'm incapacitated physically, or I'm even incapacitated emotionally and mentally right now. Maybe something traumatic had happened to them and they just aren't able to get there. So that's why they're not having sex with you. But if they're just not having sex because they don't feel like it no more, that could be, I think, emotionally, trying and somewhat abusive. Abusive may be a little bit of a strong word, but if they're withholding sex, as I know I have known a man to have withheld sex as a form of punishment and control, then yes, that is definitely abuse.
Okay, well, at least we're kind of on the same page. But can I
Yeah,
tell you what I, so you know, because
please.
we because I worked so many years now with men in sessions and helped them as they transition out of relationships or readjust post relationship or getting into new relationships. A lot of men do not recognize that they are survivors of abusive relationships because they don't see the behavior as as abuse when it's happening to them.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't want to label it that because that means a whole lot of things to a man. If he has to say, I'm going to call the police because I've been abused, that makes him feel so many different ways, including the way that we feel as women when you have to call because you know, I'm not safe. So I hear that an area that people are not considering neglect, but if it was a child, it would be seen as neglect. If your
Mm.
responsibility is to, you're the source. Nobody else can feed that person or clothe that person or love or nurture that person except for you. That's your responsibility. You signed up for it. Then you're neglecting that person. And if you're neglecting them, that would be considered as a child. You could lose your child. You know, like neglecting them, you're not there when they come home from school. You haven't been doing this. You haven't made sure that their medical visits are on time. But that same responsibility looks different when you decide to step up to the plate and say, I'm monogamous with you. All that juicy stuff, all that good stuff, all that licking, sucking, sticking, here, I'm the one. You come to me. No,
Right.
promise me. Where's the Bible? All of our friends, you watch them. They said that now. So I'm the only one. And then you say, whether you're sick, whether you're angry, or you're happy, and you say, no, not right now, indefinitely. and and then you
Indefinitely.
and then you say now, and some people say, like you said, but what if she's sick? What I've seen it with so many sisters, and I gotta speak on it because it's the truth. Even if you're sick, it's the same thing as a man, a woman saying, yeah, he's neglecting the family, but you know, he's an alcoholic. Yeah, it's an illness. Yeah, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can't use that as an excuse because sisters get comfortable after they have the hysterectomy, after they have, and I don't mean to sound insensitive. I'm talking about after, not what they went through.
Right.
After I've gone through a miscarriage, a death in the family, whatever it is you say you're stressed about, and you
Mm-hmm.
back and check on the man that's being faithful. He,
Mm-hmm.
you might say that I hear the symptoms of abuse in the man because when I ask him, like what you asked that person, well, what happened for 19 years? What have you been doing? Well, it's not the most important thing. You hear them parroting what the person's been telling them. The
Exactly.
abuser or neglector is telling them, I don't need to, you don't need to have that much. There's more important things. You know, I'm in pain. Okay, so the focus is on the woman. She cares about herself. She's setting boundaries.
Yep.
You care about her respecting the boundaries. Who's caring about the man's?
Yes.
So
Who's caring about him?
neglect if you don't go back, even if it's a legitimate thing. If you don't go back and check on your guy, even after some days, but some women are going weeks, months, and years without.
Years.
I know you're being patient. I appreciate you being faithful because so many would have cheated by now. What can I do to give you pleasure that will at least make you feel some kind of, you know, good in your life for being so good to me? I know zero women that do that unless they've been encouraged by somebody else to do that. They think
Yep.
he better be good to me and not cheat on me, even if I don't want to have sex. Okay, you're right if that's the rules. But if you got a man that loves you like that, are you even checking on him? Are you rubbing his,
Right.
are you doing extra? All the feminine stuff you do, are you doing double? Because he doesn't have access to any feminine energy.
Right.
You,
But what is he supposed to do?
right.
Because this is my thing. What is he supposed to do with all of that desire? And especially, he's a good man. He doesn't want to cheat. And he's like, I'm not going to cheat. So I'm like, so you just swallow that desire. And sometimes that lack of that not being fulfilled in that way, it manifests in other ways that are harmful to him, like his health, weight gain, stress, doesn't do well on his job, because he is not being fulfilled. And some people want to make it, some people want to take this stance that the sex is just, you know, we've had our children now, and I'm like, no, because as my good friend Parish has always said, God is in the orgasms, right? So if God is in the orgasms, if we were only meant to have sex only for the sole purpose of procreating, we would only have it when we were in heat, like other animals, like the mating of the wildebeest. Once a year, they travel 100 miles to have some sex, crossing over, you know, crocodile-filled rivers to go get some sex. And if you don't get no sex in that one time, you got to wait till next year. But we have clitorises, and the only purpose in the whole history of medical science is its sole purpose is for pleasure. It's for pleasure. We are not just procreators. We are beings who enjoy pleasure. So to first choose a partner and then have that partner, and then you say, I'm going to love you and you love me, and then deny that partner. Yeah, I'm with you. It's a form of abuse.
You can still be intimate even if you aren't having sex. Absolutely. Yes. However, I know a lot of women that they are the master. They held the master key of whether or not the couple's going to have sex or not. The woman holds the master key. So if she says, hey, there's, you know what? Intimacy is even better than that. There's other ways that we can be close. That's great if your mate agrees. A lot of women say it and the man doesn't agree, and it's not, and he's not a pig because he doesn't agree. If it's like, it's not the same. I need to smell your skin. I want to hear you breathe in my ear. I need, as a man, I need to feel that closeness in a different way. And usually when a man feels that way and they're with a woman that gets irritated, it's the same woman that doesn't give him access to that feminine energy outside of the bed. Why he wants it so much in the bed. That's why I'm saying, if you're like, the bed's not the place for me right now. In this stage of our relationship, it can't be about sex. My mind is on my career or my health or whatever it is. Then that means you got to double up, you know, just like how he's doubling up in the feminine space and in the masculine space. Might take over, take more to make it for you. You got to give him for making it easy for you. Don't give him less. You don't give him less feminine energy and more attitude.
Right.
You give him more energy and more understanding and patience and love, because he doesn't have access to your sexual energy anymore.
But it, you know, I think people get sorry, trying to get my dog, forgot that my dog's put away. Come, butter. It seems like, to me, it's going into the dark. Go, get in there.
Someone says that the woman holds the key. Yeah, but in some special cases, it depends on how you see it. I see that the man has the key and I'm the lock. And when he is able to unlock what's inside of me, then he has access to universes. So I understand when the woman has the key, as far as you can't have sex unless the woman says yes. They're so amazing. Their masculine energy is so pure. You give them all the keys. You're like, we both are masters over it. When you want it, you got it. There is no, may I have it? You already know it's yours. There's that too. It's not only the women own it because the men will take over it if they, you know, there's some men that have the perfect masculine energy to hold space for a sexual woman, and the woman gives him the key and says, whenever.
2 a.m., 3 a.m. I remember a good friend of mine told somebody, listen, I know I had a long day at work and I am exhausted, but if you wake up at 3 a.m. and you want some of this, you better wake me up. Don't wake me up on the way to the door while the door talking about you were asleep. I'm like, sleep? What do you mean sleep? Wake me up. I'll be fine. I'll go back to sleep. I'll even sleep better if you put my ass back to sleep at 3 a.m. So
I know this is that you're moderating the live, so I don't want to take over, but I can.
No, you do. I'm not. You go ahead. You do it.
do a litmus test of the sisters that are in the room, you know, and there's no shade on wherever the sisters are. It's for the sisters. How many sisters are with, don't wait till the morning and tell me I was going to wake you up and I was so horny, but you were asleep. Have sex with me while I'm sleeping or wake me up. Who's in that camp? And then the women that are like, don't wake me up in the middle of the night. I have to go to work. I'm not thinking about no dick if I'm sleeping. Who's in that camp? So one is the one camp, two is the other camp. I'm just curious so that I know who's in the audience.
Yeah, put a 1 if you're like, wake me up the middle of the night, early morning, afternoon. I'm good if you're good. And put a number 2 if you're like, don't you wake me up. I need some sleep. I need my beauty sleep. Who's going to be bold? Put your number in.
Okay, we got some ones. All right.
Okay.
Because if there's 2s in the room, I like to be the balance, because I've been a 2 in my life when I was going through postpartum. Yeah. And I was, okay, Michael's responding. It's for the ladies. Only the ladies.
Michael, stop it.
5. And said she's a 2.5. She wants her sleep.
She wants her sleep.
There's no shade. I remember being a mother and, you know, nursing and all that. Like,
oh,
let
God.
me sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. Wake me up before you go. Wake me up before you go. I know that song. Sharon. I love that
all
song.
Right. So
she said,
the feather flock together. So the ones are in the room.
The ones are in the room. And so someone said 1 and make it worth me being tired at work. Ain't that the truth? If you're going to wake me up, especially, you know, I've had a long day, but I don't know. I find middle of the night sex helps me get back to sleep and get into a nice deeper sleep for the remaining hours. I just don't want to know what time it is. They can know it. So I've always said to my partner, listen, if I'm sleeping, you wake me up, just don't tell me what time it is. Because I can go back to sleep. I don't know if I got 3 more hours, 2 more hours, or 20 minutes. And then I'm smiling all day long. It's a happy thing. So, but back to the, you know, the partner's being totally, you know, misaligned. And I have said to other people, you know, you have a relationship and sometimes you have this and 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 this. That's great. And then you have this and that. That's not so good. But sometimes those 2 things that you are not in line with is really important to your partner. And that one thing could be sex. Mm-hmm. And to just kind of ignore that. And mind you, we're living, it's not like people, you know, back in our great-great-grandparents' days, people only lived to like be 40. People living in their 70s and 80s. And if you're healthy, my mother had got a new boyfriend at 75. She's healthy. And thank God the man was healthy. It's all my mother's business. But they were dating, you know, but they were healthy. And I'm like, how lucky to find a black man in his 70s that's healthy and you can still enjoy each other's company. You know, why not? So, but, you know, also, Parish, somebody was asking Esther Perel once, how come it seems like women get bored with sex early on into the relationship, you know, or within a couple of years or after a baby? And she said it's not so much that the women are bored with the sex, they're bored with the sex they're having with their partner. And people are not using their words. They're not talking to their partner. They're not saying, this is not working for me. So instead, they just cut off everything. And they think they're communicating. And as somebody said, you know, the problem with communication is believing, you know, you believing that it actually happened. And it has not.
I also think that something to add to that, speaking with what men are saying, that women are, and with women aren't telling the truth, that's not good. When you don't tell the men the truth, they really think that that's the reason, and then it's even more devastating to them when they find out the real reason. And you're like, okay, well, get over it now. That's the real truth. And they're like, wait a minute. First of all, you had me thinking this. We don't even process what their feelings feel. Women don't teach us how to talk to men and care about their. Oh, you got to is their ego. No, you got to talk to them like you got some sense, like you want men to talk to you.
Yeah.
But another why women get what the reason why it seems that they get bored afterwards is because they translate. I've seen my mother do it. I started doing it until my husband was like, we're not doing that. You can let me know right relationship is going to go. And he's like, because you like to fuck, so you're going to punish me because I made you mad earlier today. He's like, we're going to go to bed sucking and fucking tonight, or I don't want to stay married. The very first time, he's like, what's your problem? And I was like, why have you been talking all day? I was just doing what I saw my mother do. Don't talk to him. That shows him. And then know what to really learn? Don't have sex with him. I was just doing what my mother, what I saw her doing and other women. And he told me, no, I wanted you to be my wife because I knew I was going to get, have sex morning, noon, and night, and you were never going to deprive me. If you're going to get mad at me and then start putting your attitude into our sex, I don't want to be married. And I was like, well, I really don't want to do that, but I want you to listen to me. And he's like, well, then to sit down and listen to you. Don't mess up our sex life. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And I could I really did want the sex, but I was punishing the both of us because I didn't like something that he said earlier in the day. And then
and men do it.
For a period of time, my mother would say, I don't want to have sex with your father because he's like this. And I heard a lot of women say that. But once you start programming yourself, shut down, you're programming yourself to shut down when now it doesn't. Now you feel like he better do a lot more to make me want him. But you've been programming yourself not to want him. So now he's got to work double hard, and he needed that feminine energy like 3 weeks ago. So it's all right. The boredom comes from you programming yourself to be bored. If you're for a lot of, so it's not always on the men. I respect Esther though.
No, but not at all. It's not always on the men. Yeah. It's I have found it out of the, and I think you have found the same out of the different couples that we've spoken, or individuals that we've spoken to. I have found it on both sides. I have found men that have withheld sex as a form of punishment to the women and continue to shut themselves down and withholding love and intimacy from her as well. It's rare that I hear that men have done that, but I have spoken to a couple of women where the man is like, she's not acting right, so she's not getting no dick, or even the intimacy. So it's wrong on both sides, but I do find it a little more common with women because, like you said, we hold the keys, we hold the keys to the, the place of heaven. But I am in agreement with you. I think it is really deeply hurtful to the person that you have chosen. You chose to love this person, but now you're choosing to ignore their needs, wants, and desires because of some, you can make a list of all the reasons.
And then too, I know for me in that time, I was like 30, maybe I was like 34 or 35. And I didn't know how to make myself be heard. And I came out of another relationship, a long-term relationship, my first marriage, where I didn't know how to be heard. So that was my way of trying to be heard. So
yes,
he was one, and I don't want this man anymore. Totally done. But I need to give him his props because he was mature. He was 10 years older than I was, and he was like, "Shut the fuck up and take this dick. You're tripping." And then when he was like, "You need to be heard. You be having sex with me. You need to be heard. Tell me what you want to say." And I'm like orgasmic and like endlessly and telling him the things that I want, and he's like, just said that earlier, and I'm having like endless orgasms, and I'm like, this is so much better than withholding sex. Like he's like, I can hear you, like you're in my ear now tell me what you want to tell me. While we're having sex, he programmed me, don't disconnect from me just because you're mad at me, like don't.
This is the operative word, disconnection. Disconnection. So many of us are in relationships and we are so disconnected, not just sex. I mean, there's a reason. We're talking heterosexual sex right now, right? But there's a reason why the penis fits in the vagina. That's part of your connection, right? But not that not that two women cannot be connected and two men that can be. Of course, everyone can connect. It doesn't have to be penis in a vagina, because kissing is an amazing way to connect. And going on to another example, with a couple where the woman was not engaging in foreplay. And as we talked further and further, I realized she was not engaging in foreplay because she was trying to get the sex over quickly. Mm. You see? But then the husband's eventual response was he couldn't get aroused because there was no foreplay. He needed that intimacy. And so then it became, well, then if you give me head, then we can have that, which excited her, but then she would have to have sex because she would be, so you see how this vicious circle, this kind of catch-22 of, well, if I suck your dick, then I'll be excited, then I have to have sex, but I really don't want to have sex, so I'm going to suck your dick less often. And they went to, and I'm going to do a post about the difference between, a therapist, a counselor, an educator, and a coach, but they went to a therapist who was not one that was specializing in sex and relationships, and the coach told him, them, that he could no longer ask her to suck his dick. Girl. And I'm like, wait, what did you say? I said, why did this therapist tell you that you can't ask your wife to suck your dick anymore? And I said to her, well, what is it about sucking dick that bothers you? And she's like, well, I'm like, where did you get the messages about sucking dick? Well, my mom, when I was younger. And what some of us women need to understand, and men too, is that when we're young in our teenage years and we're starting to explore our sexuality, our parents sometimes tell us things to keep us from going out there getting pregnant or keep us from going out there getting a disease. They don't mean forever in a day, don't you ever suck your dick. This is your husband or the partner that you've chosen to live with. I said, so let me say one thing. If he can't ask his wife, to suck his dick, who is he supposed to ask to suck his dick? Who?
So sis, if we could ask the audience, what age did they first hear about, just for an example, it's not the core of the conversation, but when you first heard about oral sex, what age was it? And then also put G if it was positive and it was good, you felt good about, and put B if you felt like it was bad, it was negative. And I'm just curious because most of us get our messages about sex in general is when we're younger, but some women, when they're like, oh, my mom told me only nasty girls do that and only women
whores
diseases if you do that. And I said, so now that you're 40, well, I know that's not true. And I'm like, okay, but there's a part of you that's still 14 that, it was introduced to you in a bad way. And now you're 30 years older and you're still thinking like the 14-year-old. So if that's because of trauma, if it's because of social conditioning, religious programming, now it's time for your adult person to take control over the healing part of it, or you're going to be forever lost in the child's exposure or experience of that sex. And I had to do that for myself. My grandmother taught my mother, men are dirty and they're nasty. They'll stick it in a tree. They don't care anything about
not a tree.
Right. And so my mom got that. She got that program and she was like, no, I want to believe in love. I want men to love me. So she went to the extreme. She went to hurting herself to get love from men and find out her own answers about sex. So stage as a self-aware sex goddess, my energy is sex is about pleasure. Sex has a purpose, and the purpose is pleasure. It's pleasure-based. So anything that feels like pleasure to me, if it's what the church said, if it's what my mother said, if it's what anybody says, I got it so I can decide what I want to think. And you're deprogramming yourself not because you're mad at anybody. It's that's great. That's what my mother taught me, and she taught me how to be a lady. But that's what my mother thought about blowjobs. What do I think about blowjobs?
Right. And the marriage and. Yeah, and a lot of people fall back on what the Bible said. I'm like, well, the Bible says the marital bed cannot be spoiled. So if the marital bed cannot be spoiled, why are you not sucking your husband's dick in your marital bed? If you're going to follow the Bible. You people want to pick and choose, what they can and cannot do. And it's like, you chose this person. You chose to love them. Why are you being neglectful and in an area That's important to them. Now, if you and your partner, like, you really don't feel like having sex anymore, like, if we have it, fine. If we don't, fine. Then it's fine. We're not telling you you have to be having sex when both of you are like, listen, you know, it was good when it was good, but really neither one of us are like, then you are aligned. That's good.
And
But
if, and we're anybody, you have to be having sex, even if one is misaligned and one is aligned with it. It's that you have to at least care that they want to have sex. You have to care that you're the only person that they really want it from. But if you are closing the door, heaven forbid, I know a lot of people don't want to have this conversation, you either making it okay or coming together to decide how can that pleasure be fulfilled for that person. And it seems like that I see 10 is in the audience. Hi, 10, I love you. She says that she doesn't enjoy when a lover asks if they can go down. She says, if you want to go down, it ruins it for her. I get it. But then there's also, I'm doing a lot of education with men. Stop being sexual with women who don't want to use their words, because sometimes if a woman doesn't learn how to use her words and she's like, I just laid there because I wanted him to stop, but he didn't stop. Well, he doesn't know. So
he doesn't know.
That you don't find yourself in that position and you say, I didn't know I violated her, I thought she wanted it and all that. Then you only do things for women if they open up their mouth and say it. That's the only safe thing for men. If that's not your regular lover, husband, that's the only thing. I read,
you have to tell
he
him.
said no earlier, but I saw her body language. She took her shirt off and I knew that meant, I'm like, no, that doesn't mean that.
No, maybe she was hot.
It just worked out for you, but that doesn't mean that, because if you do that in the wrong scenario, no means no.
Yes.
So, and I see that there are,
and the same, you know, and for many of you who, I'm talking to both the women and the men and all of y'all. If you haven't read the book Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski, I believe it is, it talks about the science of sex, and that it talks about what pushes our gas pedal to say, go, this is good for me, and what pushes our brake to say, no, that's not good for me. And this is for women and for men, because it works. Our gas pedals and brakes, what makes it good for one is not good for the other. And you could purposely be doing something to your man, to your partner, he's like, that's just not it for me. But people need to use their words, but understanding how the body works. Like, just because a woman is wet doesn't mean she's ready.
right.
And it's the same, just because a guy's dick is hard doesn't mean he's ready. It's a natural reaction when being touched a certain way for the body to respond. It doesn't necessarily mean that they really want to have sex with you at this particular moment. But you've got to use your words. You've got to talk to the people that you're engaging and spending time with. As we talk about the relationships and what are we going to do if we are determined to not have sex with our partner anymore, and your partner is like, I'm not cheating on you but this is important to me. Yeah, there are options like opening your relationship, having a don't ask, don't tell. There's polyamory, there's swinging. There are options, but for one person to say, you can't fuck anybody else or me for the rest of your life because I don't want to have sex. But then instead of having a ethical relationship about how can I make sure my partner is getting their needs met. Parish, you would tell me about a couple you met. The guy was, tell the people about the story you were telling me yesterday. The guy who was in the wheelchair.
Oh, yes. But I did want to say this because the comments that are vested in our conversation. So I want to.
Okay, yes.
But
before we change.
Yeah. So 10 was clarifying. She's saying she gets offended when her lover, I misunderstood. She said she gets offended when her lover asks her, will you go down on me? Because she was like, I was already going to do it. I don't need you to tell me. Right? That's what 10's saying. So okay. I feel that same way. It's like you're taking the good out of it for me because I'm going to do it anyway. Just lay down and be chill. But then they're also being prepared because that's not how it normally is, maybe.
Right.
If they're a lover, they normally have to ask. So they're just, muscle. I had to get over that sometimes because I knew, okay, they're just trying to make sure in case I wasn't that they said something. Also, um, the taboo table talks. I know this brother. He's wonderful. He's been on my life multiple times. And I really appreciate his male perspective, but he asked if he could be in the conversation, but this is Sisters of Sexuality. So the conversation is more centered in feminine perspective. It's not that we exclude, because obviously you can hear we're bringing in the male's perspective, but
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't know if Taylor wanted to invite a man up because of the conversation being kind of centered around it focused on sisters. But what he said was, if it was men had to wait for women to open up their mouth and not look in body language, then the 30% of men that are going around virgin and sexless would go up even higher. But it's like, but there's more women on the planet. So there are more women if they spoke up. I'm just saying, are you saying you would still rather it be the way that it is so that that number doesn't go up, even though that puts brothers at risk because a woman,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even want that and he made me, or I told him to stop, and then later on, just because I said this, he thought that that meant that. You know, I'm actually trying to make it clear. So first of all, men who are going without sex and who are still virgins, the last thing you would want, to me, if I was a virgin, is a woman who is not comfortable with her sexuality and cannot speak up. You want to
Yeah.
open
Yeah.
a positive conversation. You just don't want to get your dick wet. And then a man who hasn't had sex in a long time, that's a reflection of something that's going on with you. Not that you're messed up and that's why women don't want you. There's something that's blocking you from what you want. Just like when coaches tell you about, hey, you got to go after your dream. The only thing stopping you is you. There's something that is keeping you from having the pleasure you want, whatever
Yep.
that. So it's not that, you know, women you want women to tell you everything, or you don't get anything. It's that you want women that know what they want, and you want to know that they want you without a question, unless your ego wants to make you feel like I made her, I seduced her. I would much rather know she wants me. She made
Yep.
it super. There was no question about it. It wasn't vulgar or masculine. It was super sexy, but she let me know all signs are a go. She's
Yes.
ready for coming at her.
Yes. Yeah. It's clear. Again, it goes back to people believing that they're communicating when they're not. You know, that's a challenge with communication. People believe that that they've had it and they have not.
And a special friend of mine, I just want to say a shout out to him really quick,
Oh,
sis, because
of course.
he's going through so much. I wouldn't even think that he would pay attention to me going live with you. But Capo, CCMG_Capo, he
Mm.
just lost his son last week in a horrible accident. And I
Oh,
just want
I'm so sorry.
to tell everyone to please send him love. And if you're a friend of him,
Healing
that,
energy.
you know, he needs that right now. I love you, Capo. I'm sending you the
Yeah.
best.
Put your arms around him if you're a friend of his. He does need that right
You're in
now.
a good space. Taylor is another lover of men. She adores men as well.
Yes.
Space.
That I do.
Yeah,
Send
because
you love.
take care of the dads the same way we take care of the mothers when there's loss.
Yeah.
Think about
Yeah.
feelings.
So many times, for so many reasons, men are not. And I think it comes from this, you have to be a man's man. But we're humans. That means we all have feelings and emotions and desires, and we all want some kind of, when I used to do the corporate training, I would say most of us walk around with an invisible sign on our forehead that says, make me feel important. And even if words of affirmation is not your partner's primary or secondary love language, we all are a blend of all five. So it's still there. And taking a moment just to tell your partner, I appreciate you taking the trash out. You know, that you take the trash out of my house, you're going to get a blowjob. I'm trying to tell you right now. Clean the bathroom? Shh, you're going to get 2 blowjobs around here. Because I'm like, yes, I hate taking the trash out, clean the refrigerator out, in the bathroom. Those are like, you want to make this sex goddess happy?
And I
that
are they hear like, I want to know what your love language is, and they apply themselves heavily in that. But
yes.
it's my love language especially when the person doing it loves doing it. It just gets me excited. I
Yes.
don't have to feel guilty that I know he really didn't want to do this, but he did that for me. Acts of service. You made me happy. You get, it's not like that. It's like, if it doesn't make you happy, it doesn't make me feel comfortable receiving it. When you're acts
Right.
of service and you're like, your acts of service fits into my thing. So that means it's an endless synergistic thing. That's what makes it really good for me. I don't know if that's like that for other people, but
Yeah, I don't know. I think for me, it's because you've chosen to love me. And if our love languages don't match, it might be a little challenge for someone to do something, because what we usually do as adults is we love people the way that we want to love them, instead of loving them the way that they wish to be loved. Because when you love somebody the way that they wish to be loved, they feel love. And it might be, let's say you come from a family that doesn't hug and kiss, and now you meet this person who's all, and you're like, ah. And it might be like learning a foreign language when you kind of open up and give them the stuff that makes them feel loved.
would
So it may be a little challenging.
you
Huh?
sign up to love someone if while you're getting to know them, they said, hey, my love language is all about gifts, and you're like, oh, that I hate giving gifts. I don't like doing that. Would you go, but I love this person, so I'm going to apply myself and give
I'm
gifts?
going to, because yes, I will love them in the way that they wish to be loved, because that's what makes them feel loved, not me, cleaning the house. I want my partner to feel
I
loved. And so although it might
If I was
be a
now,
little,
I would sign up for it. But if I know I don't like doing those things, I wouldn't sign up, because then my love for them will be measured by something that I don't even like doing, and that could be difficult. Or at least let them know that. I'd
then
let
you
them know.
wouldn't date, then you shouldn't date them, let alone marry them, if you were that opposed to that. But I remember with my husband, and I was, his was words of affirmation, and mine is not. And so, but a friend of mine, she was like, but what skin is it off your nose to tell your man that he's amazing? Because he is. And I'm like, yeah, but why do I got to say it? It's like, because it makes him feel loved. I mean, but don't he know it? She goes, but cleaning the kitchen don't make him feel loved. Saying it makes him feel loved. So if you've chosen to love that person, love them the way that they wish to be loved. Because most of the times the things they're asking of us is not so detrimental to us as a person. They're not saying, listen, I need you to get hooked on heroin with me. I need you to get hooked on heroin with me. We need to be junkies here in the street together. We need to not work, not wash. They're saying, listen, could you just hold me a little more, because physical touch is my thing. And you love them for all that they are, and you can't touch them a little
But
more?
when
That to me is like,
in a relationship, let's be realistic though. Let's take it a little bit deeper, because I'm saying,
sure.
if that is that person's love language, it's a little bit more is not going to be it. They need that person. That's my love language. Like, that's how I know you love me.
A little bit more is going to be it. It is, because they did not have it before you got there.
Right. But
And they're giving you the roadmap. This is how to love me.
right. So if I told someone, this is how you love me, I'm an acts of service person. That's
Yeah.
how I love people. If they love to be loved that way, I'm
Yeah.
on it. Love it. But that's definitely what makes me feel saturated with love and all of that. And you know what? I've been lied to. I've been cheated on. People have used me. Every time I do stuff for people, they never do things for me. I really don't like doing that, but I'll do it for you because I love you and you're different. I already know it's going to be lackluster because you're working through your shit every time you help me. And that's going to take the...
I'm gonna use your words. Don't think for them. If they're telling you they want to do it for you.
I say, this is
Yeah.
this is what I actually speak. I think it,
Yes.
and then I speak
Yes.
confirmation,
Yes.
and we work through it, because
Okay.
human behavior is, if you don't like doing something, just because you love someone and they want it, case in point, when it comes to sex or anything else,
Right.
it doesn't mean they're going to show up and do it the way you need them to do. They'll just show up and do it the way they can, and you got to be okay with that. And if you know going in,
Right.
I didn't wait all this time to have a wife or a boyfriend that is just, if he can, I'll get it. I want somebody who's juicy and overflowing like I am. So I'm ready to receive. I want somebody who's ready to give. I personally align better with that, because then there's all these problems in the relationship when really the person is just being who they wanted, who they were before you met them. You're the one that said, could you give me a little bit more of that? Because I really like, but you can see that that's not what they have to give. So
Right. So there again, we're on the same page with people using their words and communicating and being authentically who you are before you get deep into this relationship. And you need to tell people at the beginning what your expectations are of a lover, of a husband, of a partner, of a wife. Don't get 3 years in and be like, well, I told you. It's like, you mentioned something over lunch when we met 20 years ago. I didn't even know you were serious. And you've never mentioned it again. Instead, you're building this resentment because you're not getting what you want and you were not clear, right? And when you're speaking, you are 100% responsible for the words coming out of your mouth. That means you need to make sure that what you said was heard and understood by asking questions like, am I being clear? What did you think I said? What did you think I meant by what I said at the beginning? Because you have all these problems later on because the resentment is being built when somebody is doing something that they really didn't want to do. So the thing with my husband, it was a matter of, it wasn't no skin off my nose to do it. I just wasn't doing it because I didn't feel like it. But it didn't make me feel like, why do I have to do it? Because it was like, that's what he wants. It was so easy just to tell the man he was amazing. It was literally, and then, like you said, it becomes a habit, right? How we, you do something for a while. And when I saw his reaction to it, then that made me feel loved because I'm like, something as simple as, you're so amazing. He was like the kid you just gave the candy to. And I was like, huh, okay. There was I'll give a perfect example of that. There was the scene in Sex and the City when Charlotte was marrying the Scottish guy and she met the mother and she saw that when the mother went to ask the son something, she would put her hand on his wrist. So it was kind of to get his attention, but she did it softly. And she would be like, I can't remember his name, Chad, my love, would you step over there and pick me up or such and such? And Charlotte noticed that. She was like, And then she tried it. Chad, my love. Yes, darling. Would you? Yeah. So being aware of your lover's needs, wants, and desires, being aware of what makes them feel loved, I think makes a good lover. But if it's like it is, if it's something that is so against your everything, then you guys are not going to be aligned and you're not going to work out. So have these conversations early in the relationship before it's a relationship, because I've had some meet and greets. I had a meet and greet a few months ago. It was raining, and I usually don't have anyone pick me up at my house. But I was like, well, it's raining. Come pick me up at the house. And then we drove to the restaurant. Within the hour, we had 3 or 4 different disagreements about things that were, like, important for me. We weren't even talking about sex, but just the general conversation about humanity. And we were like, We both, at the end, he was like, you need a ride home? I'm like, I'll walk, but nice meeting you. And I'm like, I know, if we're already not being rubbed the right way, I'm not going to force this. And he was cute, too. Tall.
it's more of a challenge when it's rubbed the right way, and then you get in and you let people rub in deeper places, and then you're aware that you know about them, and then you realize,
Ooh, girl.
But he rubs
Yeah.
But I just don't like that one part, but I do like that part, and then it's easy to settle.
Instead of just telling them, don't do that no more. And we'll be good. This has been a great conversation. I am so glad that you joined me today. We do have to run because we have a meeting coming up.
Looking at that.
Yeah. So thank you, Parish, for coming. Listen, if you guys are not following Parish, please do at Official Sexy Spirit TV on IG. And follow her. She's got a lot of good information. She's got different information than my information. We look at the world the same way, but through different eyes, and different experiences. So the information is going to be transferred to you differently because we're 2 different people. But a lot of the things we we think about the same, but as you see, sometimes it's from a different direction. But we always get there in bed together. I love you. I will say this, send this to you. You guys have an amazing Monday. Thank you for joining us. Stay sexy. Ciao.